When the governor's daughter refused to stand as Judge Judy entered the courtroom, people brushed it off as another spoiled stunt. They had no idea they were seconds away from witnessing one of the most explosive courtroom unravelings ever caught on camera. What began with a careless smirk erupted into leaked messages, a former best friend turning against her, and secrets dangerous enough to shake her family's reputation. Judge Judy didn't just confront Cassandra Brell, she dismantled her, layer by layer, and the moment that stunned everyone the most was still ahead. The ending of this story is emotional in a way you won't see coming. Before we jump in, tell me, where are you watching from? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The chair did not move. Not an inch. Judge Judy entered. The courtroom rose like a tide, and yet one girl sat still, legs crossed, gaze fixed forward as if the world belonged to her. The governor's daughter did not stand. She only smiled. The room tightened around that smile. Air seemed to gather between her and the bench like two storms sizing each other up. Phones lowered, pens froze. Even the bailiff paused mid-step, unsure whether to clear his throat or stay absolutely silent. Judge Judy did not react, not outwardly. She simply approached the bench with the slow precision of someone who has already seen the ending of this story. Her robe shifted softly as she sat, eyes never once leaving the girl in the third row. That stare carried no anger, only intention, like a surgeon deciding where to make the first incision. The girl, Cassandra Brell, daughter of Governor Lionel Brell, leaned back in her chair as if Judy's stare were a challenge she had already won. Her sleek black blazer shimmered under the courtroom lights, too polished for someone who claimed to be wronged. One hand rested on a designer purse, the other drummed impatiently, the rhythm echoing arrogance more than nerves. Across the aisle, the victim, a young cafe worker named Dani, held her folder against her stomach like a life vest. The edges were bent from being gripped too tightly. Her eyes darted quickly between the judge and Cassandra, unsure which expression frightened her more, Judy's silence or Cassandra's smirk. "Let us begin," Judge Judy said, voice calm but edged with steel. Cameras adjusted, lenses shifting to catch her expression, sensing significance in her restraint. "Ms. Brell, I will address you later. For now we start with the matter at hand." Cassandra exhaled dramatically, loud enough for the microphones to catch. A ripple of discomfort moved across the gallery. She did not hide her disdain. She displayed it like jewelry. Dani's voice shook as she explained the incident, how a spilled drink, an accidental bump, and a simple apology had spiraled into a scene she could not forget. Cassandra had berated her, knocked items from the counter, refused to pay the damages, then left as if nothing mattered except her schedule. Judge Judy listened, not a blink wasted. When Dani finished, Judy turned her head toward Cassandra with that same unreadable calm. "Ms. Brell, you will have the opportunity to respond. But before we continue," her voice lowered, and the room leaned forward as one. Judy's gaze sharpened, slicing through the polished veneer Cassandra worked so hard to maintain. "You remained seated when I entered." Cassandra lifted her chin. "I do not stand for people who work for my father's administration." A collective gasp rose. Dani's fingers tightened around her folder. Even Cassandra seemed to realize too late that the words sounded far louder spoken aloud. Judge Judy did not flinch. She only narrowed her eyes the way distant storms narrow horizons. "Tell me, Ms. Brell." Her voice was quiet, but every syllable landed like a gavel. "Are you refusing to stand?" A beat of silence stretched, painful and electric. "Or refusing to respect yourself?" Cassandra's smirk faltered, just enough for the entire courtroom to sense it, the first hairline crack in her certainty. The air shifted. Something was coming. Her chair screeched against the floor as she leaned forward, eyes sharp, chin high. "Do you know who my father is?" she said, not as a question, but as a verdict she thought could silence the room. It did not. The gallery stiffened. Some leaned back as if avoiding the heat radiating from her entitlement. Others leaned in, morbidly curious, watching arrogance walk itself into a corner. The bailiff shifted his stance, hands clasped behind him, eyes locked on Judge Judy. Even he knew lines were being crossed faster than they could be drawn. Judge Judy did not blink. She let Cassandra's words settle into the air, dense and uncomfortable. Silence stretched, not empty but weighted, pressing inward from every wall. "I have a clear idea," Judy replied finally. Her tone was level, controlled. "But unless your father is sitting in that chair, he is not part of this case," Cassandra scoffed. Not a light, embarrassed sound, no. It was a full-bodied, dismissive burst, as if she found the entire courtroom adorable in its attempt at authority. Her crossed arms tightened, her foot tapped, every gesture begged the cameras to witness her superiority. Danny watched quietly from her seat, fingers trembling around her folder. The humiliation she once felt at the cafe flickered across her eyes. Not fear, just the echo of a memory she wished she could forget. Judge Judy continued, eyes narrowing slightly. "We are here because of a civil matter involving damages and your conduct." Her gavel tapped once, soft but sharp enough to slice Cassandra's smirk. "Your last name will not testify. You will." A murmur rippled across the room. For the first time, Cassandra's posture wavered, just a fraction. She caught herself, straightened, and rolled her eyes with a theatrical sigh. "Fine," she said, "but this is ridiculous. The staff provoked me. They were rude, disrespectful." "Disrespect," Judy repeated, tasting the word carefully. She tilted her head. "Show me." Cassandra frowned. "Show you what?" "The disrespect," Judy said. "The behavior that justified pushing items off a counter and refusing to pay damages." That silence again. Thick. Waiting, Cassandra shifted, searching for the version of events she had rehearsed, the one where her title acted as insulation. "It was tone," she stammered. "They spoke to me like I was nobody." Judge Judy leaned slightly forward, catching the nuance. "Nobody," she echoed. "And what exactly does nobody sound like?" The question struck harder than any raised voice could. Cassandra inhaled, visibly rattled by how quickly her own phrasing exposed her. Before she could answer, Judy lifted a hand. "Actually," she said, her voice calm and cold, "let the evidence speak." She nodded to the clerk. A single file, thick, stamped, undeniable, was placed on the desk with a weight that echoed through the courtroom. Inside it, surveillance footage Cassandra thought would never see daylight. Judge Judy tapped the folder once, eyes sharpening. "Ms. Brell, shall we watch?" The monitor flickered before the footage even began, and Cassandra was already shaking her head. "No, absolutely not. This is taken out of context," she muttered, panic threading through her voice. But the courtroom was already leaning in, hungry for truth. The lights dimmed slightly as the clerk pressed play. A cold blue glow washed across Cassandra's face, revealing every crack she tried to conceal. The screen hummed to life, quiet at first, then filled with the grainy chaos she never expected to face again. There she was. Cassandra Brell, framed in the cafe's overhead camera, impeccably dressed, impatience radiating like heat. The footage showed her tapping her nails against the counter, each click sharper than the last. Danny appeared on screen, gentle, smiling, handing over a drink with practiced politeness. Then, the moment. The drink spilled. Barely a splash, a simple mistake. And Cassandra's face transformed. In the courtroom, the real Cassandra tensed, gripping her armrest like the video might bite. On the monitor, she slapped the cup aside, liquid scattering across the counter. Gasps erupted from the gallery as she shoved napkins off the stand, her mouth shouting words the cafe microphone did not need to catch. Her rage was visible in every contorted gesture. In the courtroom, Cassandra's jaw clenched. "They provoked me," she whispered harshly. Judge Judy held up a finger, not a shush, not a threat, a warning. The footage continued. Danny kept apologizing, her posture shrinking, her smile fighting to survive the humiliation. Cassandra knocked a tip jar to the floor. Coins scattered. Her smirk, cold and triumphant, was impossible to misinterpret. The video froze on that smirk. In real time, Cassandra looked away instantly. Judge Judy leaned back, hands folded. "Ms. Brell," she said softly, "is that the behavior of someone being mistreated?" Cassandra exhaled sharply. "You're only seeing one angle." She talked back to me. Danny's voice trembled as she spoke for the first time since the video started. I just said I was sorry. Her hands twisted in her lap, knuckles whitening under the pressure of the moment. The camera of the courtroom shifted its attention to her, capturing the raw truth in her eyes. Even spectators softened. Her pain, once quiet, now filled the room. Cassandra rolled her eyes again, but there was less power behind it. People apologize all the time. It doesn't mean anything. Judy's eyebrows lifted, a razor-sharp gesture. And what should have happened instead? Should she have thanked you for throwing the cup? A murmur rippled through the audience like a wave. Cassandra snapped, "This is ridiculous!" Her voice cracked, not from anger, something closer to fear. Judge Judy didn't raise hers. She simply reached for the remote and advanced the footage one more frame. Cassandra's smirk on the screen deepened. In the courtroom, Cassandra swallowed hard. "Interesting," Judy murmured. "Your story weakens every time we press play." She froze the image again, zooming in slowly, deliberately, until Cassandra's smirking face filled the entire monitor. "Let us take a closer look," Judy said, "and see what you were really thinking in this moment." Judge Judy zoomed in on the frozen frame until Cassandra's smirk filled the screen like an accusation. The courtroom held its breath, and Cassandra, once unshakable, finally looked away. Judy did not need to raise her voice. Her silence was enough to bend the room into absolute stillness. She tapped the monitor lightly, the sound echoing like a pulse. "Ms. Brell," she said, "is that the expression of someone who was mistreated?" Cassandra opened her mouth, then shut it. A flicker of panic crossed her face, small but unmistakable. Her polished facade, crafted from privilege and political immunity, began to fracture. Her jaw tightened, her shoulders drew back, but her eyes betrayed something new: uncertainty. "I told you," she whispered, forcing confidence she no longer felt. She disrespected me." Judy tilted her head, studying her like a puzzle that had finally revealed its corner piece. "If this young woman had disrespected you, why do you look so pleased with yourself?" the gallery murmured. Even the bailiff's stern expression softened in surprise. Cassandra bristled. "I do not have to justify every emotion on my face." "Good," Judy replied calmly. "Then justify your actions." Silence. Danny shifted in her seat, her voice barely audible. "I just apologized. That was all." The cameras pivoted toward her, capturing the tremor in her hands, the vulnerability in her posture. She had been small in that cafe, but she was even smaller now, crushed beneath the weight of the governor's daughter's reputation. Cassandra snapped. "She was rude. She said sorry in that fake tone people use when they think they're better than you." Judy's eyebrows lifted. "Better than you? Or simply not afraid of you?" A flush crept up Cassandra's neck. "You're twisting my words." "I am repeating them," Judy said. "You are twisting yourself." The courtroom hummed with tension. Cassandra shifted again, this time with less arrogance and more agitation. She glanced around the room as if searching for a friendly face. A familiar spotlight, a camera lens that adored her as much as she adored herself. None offered comfort. Judy lifted a second document from her desk, a thin packet with a clipped corner and an official seal. She did not open it yet. She simply held it between two fingers, letting the weight of its existence sink in. "Ms. Brell," she said slowly, "your version of events appears increasingly inconsistent. That suggests one of two problems. Either you are mistaken, or you are misleading." Cassandra stiffened. "I'm not lying." "Good," Judy replied, "because the next document will tell us exactly that." Cassandra's breath halted. Her chin trembled. Not enough for most to see, but enough for Judy to catch. Because she knew that seal. She recognized the handwriting on the tab. And the color drained from her face before anyone even understood why. Judy placed the document gently on the desk. "Shall we proceed?" she asked. Cassandra's eyes widened in terror, because she already knew whose sworn statement lay inside, and it was not going to save her. The moment Cassandra recognized the signature on the packet, her confidence faltered. It was not fear of exposure, it was fear of who had exposed her. Her father's aid had always protected her, until now. Judge Judy placed the document flat on the bench, her fingertip resting lightly on the seal, as if testing its temperature. The room seemed to lean toward that single sheet of paper, pulled by the gravity of what Cassandra wished desperately to hide. Even the lights felt harsher, spotlighting every tremor in her jaw. Ms. Brell, Judy began. You claimed staff provoked you? That this was an isolated moment of frustration, that you were under stress? Cassandra swallowed, eyes darting from the document to the gallery. She tried to reclaim her posture, lifting her chin, straightening her blazer, forcing her breathing back into steady lines. But nothing settled. Judy slid the packet open. This sworn statement, filed by your father's senior aide, details a pattern of behavior, multiple incidents, repeated warnings. A collective inhale rippled through the courtroom. Cassandra's mouth fell open. What? She whispered. No, that cannot be right. Judy lifted the first page, reading slowly, giving each sentence room to borrow the tension in the room and amplify it. Quote, during the months leading up to the cafe incident, Miss Wake Brell demonstrated escalating hostility toward service workers, staff, and constituents. Despite several interventions, she refused behavioral guidance. End quote. The air thickened. Cassandra lurched forward. He exaggerated. He hates me. He has always been against me. Judy raised one brow. Interesting, considering he recommended you for several political youth events. Cassandra froze. The gallery shifted, unease mixing with a dawning recognition that arrogance was beginning to collapse in on itself. Danny watched quietly, her shoulders no longer hunched. Each word Judy read seemed to lift a weight she had carried since the cafe incident, one that Cassandra's status had made feel impossible to challenge. Judy continued reading. The aide also states that Ms. Brell dismissed accountability on several occasions. Quoting you directly, my father will handle it. Cassandra's breath caught, the exact phrase she never expected to see documented. That is taken out of, she stopped herself. She could not lie her way around her own words. Ms. Brell, Judy said gently, this statement is not an attack. It is a record. Cassandra's eyes glistened with anger, sharp, humiliating, unsteady. They are all trying to make me look bad. You're making yourself look bad, Judy replied. They merely wrote it down. Laughter did not break out. No one dared. But a subtle shift of relief moved through the audience. Entitlement was losing its footing. Judy set the statement aside. We are not finished. A soft knock came from the side door. The bailiff stepped in, giving Judy a discreet nod. Good, Judy murmured. Bring in the next witness. Cassandra blanched. Witness? Who? Who else had something to say? The door opened slowly, and the silhouette on the threshold made Cassandra's entire body go rigid. The hinges groaned softly as the door opened, and a silhouette stepped inside. Cassandra's breath stopped, just stopped, because the witness was not an enemy. It was someone she once trusted with every secret she owned. The girl who entered wore a simple navy blouse and trembling resolve. Her name, Mara Keene, Cassandra's former best friend, the one person who knew the truth behind Cassandra's polished public persona, and the person she never expected to see standing on the opposite side of a courtroom. The gallery reacted instantly. A murmur, a shift, an electrical ripple of curiosity. Cassandra's fingers curled around the arms of her chair, nails digging so deep that the leather creaked. Judge Judy gestured calmly. Ms. Keene, come forward. Mara approached the stand with hesitant steps, like each one cost her something. She did not look at Cassandra, not once. Instead, she kept her gaze on Judge Judy, as if steadying herself with each inch closer to truth. Cassandra's voice cracked. Mara, what are you doing? You do not belong here. Mara flinched at the sound of her voice. Judy intervened sharply. Ms. Brell, silence. The command cut through the room. Cassandra bit back whatever came next, jaw trembling. Once sworn in, Mara's voice barely rose above a whisper. I was contacted because I witnessed changes in Cassandra over the past year. Cassandra scoffed loudly, the sound brittle. Changes? You're going to talk about changes? You abandoned me. But under the weight of Judy's stern gaze, Cassandra shrank back into her seat. Mara continued. After her father won office, she shifted. She stopped listening to people. She started assuming everyone owed her something. She bragged about being untouchable. The gallery held its breath. Cassandra's face reddened. That is a lie. You were jealous. You always were. Mara turned toward her, not with anger, but with deep, exhausted sadness. I was your friend. I wanted you to succeed. But you stopped wanting friends. You wanted an audience. The words struck Cassandra harder than the footage had. Her lips quivered, but the arrogance she relied on pushed everything else down. You are here to ruin me. No, Mara replied softly. I am here because I watched you ruin yourself and hurt people you never should have hurt. Danny wiped a tear from her cheek. The emotional truth connecting quietly across the aisle. Cassandra lunged forward. You're only here for attention. You think this makes you better than me? Judy slammed her gavel once. The sound cracked through the room like lightning. Enough. Ms. Keene, one final question. Mara steadied herself, fingers clasped tightly. Yes, Your Honor? Judy leaned in, voice low and razor precise. Why did you end the friendship? The room went still, every breath suspended in that single heavy moment. Mara looked down, tears forming. Because, she whispered, I finally realized what Cassandra had become. If you witnessed a friend hurting others to protect their ego, would you speak up or stay silent? Mara's final words still trembled in the air, raw and unfinished. Cassandra stared at her as if seeing a stranger wearing her friend's face. But the courtroom saw something else entirely. Truth beginning to peel away, entitlement. Judge Judy leaned back, giving Mara space to continue. The silence was heavy, almost compassionate, as though the courtroom itself understood the grief of losing someone you once trusted. Mara inhaled shakily. We stopped being friends because every conversation became about what people owed you, about who you could humiliate, who you could impress, who you could control. Her voice wavered, but the strength beneath it was unmistakable. You used me, Cassandra, for connections, for favors, for access. Cassandra's eyes widened, flickering with both disbelief and offense. That is not true. I helped you. I elevated you. No, Mara whispered. You hid behind me. Because I was the only person who told you the truth, until you stopped wanting to hear it. The audience murmured. Even the bailiff swallowed, eyes lowered, processing the emotional unraveling unfolding before them. Cassandra's posture shrank, anger fighting with fear. You could have talked to me. Instead, you betrayed me. Judy cut in gently but firmly. Ms. Brell, sometimes honesty feels like betrayal when a person refuses to change. Mara's gaze dropped to her hands, fingers twisting nervously. The cafe incident, it did not surprise me. You had been spiraling for months. I tried to warn you. I tried to help. But every time, you told me your father would take care of it, that consequences were for people without power. Cassandra flinched. The words struck deeper than any legal accusation. They echoed in her bones. Danny looked down at her lap, a single tear sliding across her wrist. For the first time, she understood that Cassandra's outburst had not been personal. It had been habitual, a pattern, not an anomaly. Cassandra shook her head. You do not understand what it is like being me. People expect perfection. They expect— No, Mara interrupted quietly. People expect decency. A hush fell. Cassandra's breath caught, her eyes burning with a mix of rage and humiliation. Judge Judy tapped her pen lightly, a rhythmic reminder that the emotional storm still existed inside a courtroom's boundaries. Ms. Keene, is there anything else relevant to the case? Mara hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Cassandra told me, days before the incident, that she felt people were beneath her now. That being the governor's daughter meant she never had to apologize again. The gallery gasped. Cassandra slammed her palm against the table. Stop twisting everything. I never said— But her voice cracked mid-sentence, breaking the illusion of control she fought to maintain. Judy raised a hand. Ms. Brell, she spoke softly, your anger is not helping you. Cassandra sank back into her seat, breathing fast and shallow, mascara trembling along her lashes. Her world, the one cushioned by influence, protected by status, was beginning to crumble, and she could feel every fracture. Judy turned to the clerk. Bring forward the next set of exhibits. Cassandra froze. What exhibits? She had no idea there were more. Judy held up a sheet of paper, a subpoenaed phone record with Cassandra's name highlighted in bold. We will continue, she said. By examining your messages. Judge Judy held the printed phone records between two fingers, the pages trembling slightly, not from her hand, but from the sudden shift of energy pulsing through the room. Cassandra went pale, because she knew exactly what was written there. Judy laid the papers flat, smoothing them with deliberate calm. These messages were sent within 1 hour of the cafe incident, she said. The words were gentle, but the stillness around them was brutal. Cassandra shifted, her foot tapping uncontrollably against the floor. Those texts are private, she whispered. Truth, Judy replied, rarely stays private. She lifted the top page. A chorus of gasps followed, printed in bold letters. I'll put that cafe girl in her place. They should know who they're dealing with. Cassandra closed her eyes, as if shutting out the words might erase them from existence, but the room had already inhaled them, absorbed them, judged them. Danny covered her mouth, her shoulders trembling as emotion, fear, validation, exhaustion washed through her like a tide finally acknowledged. Judy continued reading. Another message, time-stamped minutes before the incident. If something goes wrong, my father will fix it. No consequences for me. The gallery froze. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" Even the bailiff shifted, arms tightening across his chest. Cassandra's voice cracked like thin glass. Those were jokes, jokes. You are all taking this the wrong way. Judy's eyebrow arched. Is that so? Yes, Cassandra snapped. People exaggerate in texts. They talk big. It does not mean anything. Judy set the pages down and leaned forward, her tone turning surgical. Then explain this one. She lifted a final sheet, one Cassandra never wanted the world to see. Cassandra's breath hitched. Danny leaned forward. The room shrank around the moment. Judge Judy read the sentence slowly, clearly, letting each word land like a gavel strike. I could break her if I wanted to. Dad's position makes me untouchable. Silence. A silence that felt like gravity itself had thickened. Cassandra shook her head violently. No, that was not meant seriously. I was venting. You do not understand the pressure I'm under. Judy did not look away. Pressure does not justify cruelty. Cassandra's voice rose, frantic now. Everyone expects something from me. Everyone watches me. I cannot make one mistake without... This was not a mistake, Judy cut in, her tone sliced like ice. This was intent. The gallery murmured, the emotional tide turning sharply. Sympathy died. Reality sharpened. Cassandra slumped into her seat, hands gripping the edge so tightly her knuckles drained of color. Judge Judy placed the messages aside, folding her hands. Ms. Brell, she said softly, is there something in these texts you do not want read aloud? Cassandra opened her mouth, but nothing came. Her silence said everything. Judy leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Because the next page, she whispered, changes the entire balance of this case. A message revealing Cassandra planned to use her father's political immunity to avoid all consequences, proving premeditation, not impulse. Cassandra's voice cracked before she even spoke. Please, do not read that one. But Judge Judy had already lifted the page, her silence sharper than any raised voice could ever be. The courtroom leaned forward as if pulled by a single shared breath. Cassandra pressed her palms against the table, her composure unraveling thread by delicate thread. No smirk, no eye roll, no armor left, just the trembling realization that her own words were now her loudest accusers. Judge Judy glanced down at the message, then back up at the young woman who once believed herself untouchable. Ms. Brell, she said softly, truth cannot be begged away. Cassandra shook her head, strands of hair falling loose around her face. You do not understand, she whispered. That text, if you read it, people will twist it. They will twist me. Judy did not respond. She did not need to. She turned the page so the courtroom could see the bold black line Cassandra feared most, and then she read it. If this blows up, Dad will handle everything. Judges love him. I am untouchable. The words landed with the weight of a collapsing building. The gallery gasped. The cameras seemed to freeze. Even the fluorescent lights hummed louder, as if stunned by the arrogance captured on paper. Danny stared at Cassandra, not with anger, but with the quiet heartbreak of someone who had just realized how small she had been made to feel. Not by accident, by design. Cassandra covered her face with one shaking hand. "I did not mean it like that," she insisted weakly. I felt overwhelmed. Everyone sees me as perfect. They expect me to act like I'm better." "Act?" Judy interrupted, voice cool as steady rain. "Or believe." Cassandra's gaze snapped up, eyes rimmed red. "You think I enjoy this? You think I enjoy people watching me fail?" "No," Judy replied. "I think you enjoy people watching you win." The room shifted, soft, painful, undeniable. Cassandra inhaled sharply, like someone realizing the ground beneath them is no longer solid. "I am not a monster," she whispered. I wanted to feel powerful. Just once." Judy leaned forward, the bench framing her like a shadow of truth. "Power's not feeling strong because others feel weak. Power is responsibility, and you used yours to harm." Cassandra trembled, truly trembled. I do not know why I said those things." "Then let us find out," Judy murmured. "Starting now." A beat of silence stretched. Then Judy delivered the pivot that sliced through Cassandra's remaining defenses. "Is this how you see the justice system, your personal shield?" The words struck harder than any evidence. Cassandra's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. For once, silence revealed more than defiance ever could. The courtroom waited, eyes locked on Cassandra, as she struggled between the lie she wanted to tell and the truth finally clawing its way to the surface. "Do you believe remorse can erase guilt, or does justice demand accountability even when apologies arrive too late?" A sharp knock echoed through the courtroom, too formal, too deliberate to ignore. Every head turned. Cassandra's eyes widened, recognizing the sound before the door even opened. The bailiff stepped forward and accepted a sealed envelope from a stone-faced courier dressed in the governor's official colors. The gold emblem pressed into the wax glinted beneath the harsh lights, a symbol of influence, a reminder of power, a shadow stretching silently over the room. Cassandra straightened, hope flickering across her face for the first time since the texts were read. She wiped her eyes quickly, as though salvation had just arrived in an envelope. The bailiff handed it to Judge Judy. Judy broke the seal with a single deliberate motion. The crack of wax snapping felt like a shot through Cassandra's nerves. She leaned forward, breath held, waiting for rescue to unfold. Judge Judy unfolded the note slowly, as though savoring its weight. Her eyes scanned each line without a change in expression, no raised brow, no tightened jaw, no visible reaction at all. Just calm, judicial silence. Cassandra clutched the edge of her chair. "It is from my father's team," she whispered. They must be clarifying things, explaining my side." But Judy's face did not soften. If anything, it grew stiller. Finally, Judy set the note down. "This," she said, tapping the page once, "is a request for leniency, based on perceived misunderstandings and the pressures of public scrutiny." Cassandra blinked. "Yes, that's what I meant. They understand what this is doing to me." Judy raised a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "The note also suggests that your actions have been misrepresented by the media and urges the court to consider your unique personal burden." A faint hum passed through the gallery. Some leaned forward, others rolled their eyes. Already sensing the imbalance of power pressing at the edges of the case, Cassandra nodded vigorously. "Yes, exactly. That is what I have been trying to say. This is not fair." "But," Judy continued calmly, "nowhere in this letter does it deny your behavior. Nowhere does it express remorse. And nowhere does it address the harm you caused." Cassandra's mouth hung open, her confidence collapsing in slow motion. "This message," Judy said, sliding the note away from her, "is political insulation, not truth." The words hit Cassandra like cold water. She shook her head. "My father is trying to help. That is all." "No." Judy leaned forward, eyes narrowing with surgical precision. "Your father is trying to protect a public image. You are the one trying to hide behind it." Silence swallowed the room. Cassandra's breathing quickened, as if the air had tightened around her. "You do not understand what it is like. Everyone expects me to be perfect, to represent him in everything." "Expectations," Judy replied, "do not excuse abuse." Cassandra's voice trembled. "I did not mean to hurt anyone." Judy studied her, not cruelly, just deeply. Then answer me honestly, Ms. Brell. Did you contact your father to intervene in this case? A beat. Cassandra blinked slowly, her lips parting. The truth hovered, dangerous, trembling, undeniable. The entire courtroom leaned into the moment. She swallowed hard, voice cracking as she whispered, I did. Cassandra's confession, I did, still trembled in the air when her composure finally snapped. Her shoulders folded inward, as if the truth itself were too heavy to hold upright. Judge Judy watched her carefully, the way one watches a glass begin to crack before it shatters. Cassandra's breathing quickened, shallow and uneven. She wiped her face with a shaking hand, smearing what remained of her mascara. Somewhere between the influence she tried to wield and the reality cornering her now, she had lost the mask she'd worn since walking through the courtroom doors. Judy's voice softened, not kind, not cruel, just steady. Ms. Brell, you contacted your father because you believed he could fix this? Cassandra nodded, a small jerky motion. Yes, I thought he could make it go away. Danny exhaled sharply, hurt but also relieved to hear the truth spoken aloud. Judy leaned back. Why did you believe that? Cassandra blinked rapidly, like a child trying not to cry. Because he always has. Every time something went wrong, every argument, every scandal, every misstep, he told me not to worry. He said he would take care of it, that people would listen to him. Her voice cracked. And they always did. The gallery shifted, whispers swelled, mixing empathy with judgment. Mara, still seated in the witness box, looked at her old friend with a sadness that hollowed her eyes. She had seen this unraveling long before the courtroom ever did. Cassandra pressed trembling fingers against her temples. Do you know what it is like, she whispered, to be told your whole life that you matter because of him, that people respect you because of him, that consequences aren't for you? She shook her head, breath stuttering. When you hear that enough times, you start to believe it. You start to live it. Judy did not look away. And when the world doesn't obey that belief, it feels like drowning, Cassandra whispered. All eyes on you, all expectations, and when you fail, everyone sees it, everyone waits for it. Her voice collapsed under its own weight. A long, painful silence followed. Not the tense silence from earlier sections. This one was human, heavy, exhausted. Judy finally asked softly, Ms. Brell, why are you truly here today? Cassandra stared at the desk, tears dripping onto the polished wood. Because I lost control, she said. Because I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. She hesitated, breath trembling. And because I did not know how to stop myself. The courtroom fell utterly still. Judy studied her deeply, eyes narrowing, not in condemnation, but in recognition. She sensed something else, something Cassandra hadn't yet said. A truth buried under fear, ego, and the suffocating legacy of power. Is there anything more? Judy asked. Anything you have not told us? Cassandra froze. Her lips parted, her eyes filled, and for the first time, she spoke without the filter of entitlement, image, or inherited authority. There is something else, she whispered, something I never told anyone. The air tightened. Mara's hands gripped the stand. Danny held her breath. Judy leaned in. Cassandra's voice cracked as she revealed, I targeted her because she reminded me of who I used to be, before power changed me. Cassandra's confession hovered in the air like smoke after an explosion, thick, disorienting, impossible to breathe around. I targeted her because she reminded me of who I used to be. The courtroom didn't just fall silent, it staggered. Mara's eyes filled instantly, not with anger, something heavier, like mourning for a friend who had finally admitted the wound she'd been bleeding from all along. Danny sat frozen, her fingers pressed lightly to her lips, stunned not by the attack she had endured, but by the reason behind it. Judge Judy didn't move. She simply waited, letting the truth echo until it settled into every corner of the room. Cassandra wiped her face with trembling hands. Her makeup smeared in streaks, but she didn't bother fixing it. Pretending was useless now. The daughter of a governor, the girl who believed the world should bend for her, now looked like someone stripped of every title, every shield, every illusion. I saw her, Cassandra whispered, nodding toward Danny. Working hard, smiling, being normal, being someone people liked. Her voice cracked. I used to be like that before everything changed, before I became this. She gestured at herself as if her own skin were something foreign. Danny shifted, her expression softening. Pain mingled with empathy in a way she never expected. "You hurt me," she whispered, voice thin but steady. "But I didn't deserve to be your reminder." Cassandra nodded quickly, tears spilling over. I know. I hated myself that day, and instead of facing it, she swallowed hard. I punished you for it." A ripple of stunned heartbreak washed through the gallery. Judge Judy softened her posture, though her voice remained grounded. "Ms. Brell, self-awareness is not redemption. It is the beginning of responsibility." Cassandra looked up, eyes red and pleading. "I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to tell anyone that I felt like I was disappearing behind his shadow, like I only mattered because of him." Mara's breath hitched. "Cass, you could have told me." "I tried," Cassandra said, "but every time I started, the cameras turned on, the expectations came back, and I chose image over honesty, over you, over myself." Danny's eyes glistened. "Then why take it out on me?" Her voice cracked. Cassandra met her gaze, not arrogantly, not defensively, but with aching vulnerability. "Because you were still allowed to be yourself, and I wasn't, and it made me jealous in a way I didn't understand until it was too late." That admission struck the room harder than any piece of evidence. Judge Judy inhaled slowly, the weight of the moment settling across her shoulders. "Understanding the roots of harm is necessary, but it does not erase the harm." Cassandra nodded, defeated. "I know. I don't want to be this person anymore." Her voice broke fully, collapsing into a raw sob that echoed painfully in the silent courtroom. Judy reached for a folder, the last remaining piece before judgment. "Then let's determine," she said gently, "what being accountable looks like." She placed the final evidence report on the bench, tapping it once. "This document," she said, "will decide the true cost of your actions." Judge Judy laid the final report on the bench with a quiet, deliberate motion, the kind that signals truth is no longer negotiable, only measured. Cassandra's breath hitched, because cost is never just about money. The gallery leaned forward as Judy opened the folder. Stark white pages, black ink, no embellishment, cold documentation of a moment Cassandra once believed she could erase with status alone. "This report," Judy began, adjusting her glasses, "details the financial, operational, and emotional impact of your actions at the cafe." Cassandra straightened, but her shoulders slumped again almost immediately. She no longer had the posture of someone prepared to fight, only someone preparing to face what she had tried so desperately to avoid. Judy read the first line. "Total property damage, $612.84. Replacement of equipment, $238. Staff cleanup and repair time, $181. Loss of product, $43. The numbers were modest. The consequences were not. Danny watched quietly, her lips pressed together, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Each figure Judy listed reflected a moment she had lived. The spilled drinks, the broken equipment, the shifts she had worked through tears. Judy continued. "Lost wages for Ms. Rivera," she said, glancing at Danny, "after being sent home due to emotional distress, $96. Cassandra flinched as though struck. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't interrupt. Not anymore. "And finally," Judy added, "documentation of emotional harm." The room inhaled as one. Emotional damage always carried more weight than the financial. Judy looked at Danny. "Would you like to speak to this portion?" Danny hesitated. She wasn't used to having a voice in rooms this large, this bright, this public. But she nodded. Her voice trembled at first. "I didn't sleep for days after it happened," she said softly. "I kept replaying it in my head, wondering what I did wrong, wondering why someone I'd never met hated me so much." Cassandra covered her mouth, tears spilling. Danny continued. "I thought I would lose my job, that customers who filmed it would recognize me, that my manager would think I caused the problem, and I felt small, invisible, replaceable." Her voice wavered again. "It wasn't just the mess you made. It was how you made me feel, like I didn't matter at all." Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Several audience members looked away, blinking back emotion. Judy nodded solemnly. "Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Your courage is noted." She turned back to Cassandra, whose mascara-stained cheeks reflected both shame and grief. "Ms. Brell," Judy said, "the monetary cost of your actions is measurable. The emotional cost, however, cannot be quantified on paper. It lives in the memory of the person you harmed." Cassandra whispered, "I know. I am so sorry." Judy did not dismiss the apology. She simply let it settle, neither absolution nor condemnation. "We are approaching judgment," she said, closing the file. "Before I rule, I will allow you one opportunity to speak." Cassandra blinked, stunned. "Me?" "Yes." Judy folded her hands. "Say what remains unsaid." Cassandra's lips parted as she realized this was her last chance, not to escape consequences, but to face herself. For the first time since the hearing began, Cassandra looked truly afraid, not of the courtroom, not of Judge Judy, but of her own voice, because now it had to tell the truth. She inhaled shakily, fingers trembling as they brushed a strand of hair from her face. Danny watched her with guarded eyes, still hurt, but no longer invisible. Mara, seated nearby, braced herself, sensing the weight of a moment neither of them ever imagined they'd live to witness. Cassandra began, but her throat tightened. Her first attempt collapsed into silence. Judge Judy waited. No impatience, no prompting, just a stillness that demanded honesty. Cassandra nodded to herself, trying again. "I want to apologize," she whispered. The words hung fragile in the air. She swallowed hard. "This isn't easy for me. Not because I don't want to say it, but because I'm realizing how long it's been since I've said anything real." Her eyes flickered toward her father's letter on the bench, now just folded paper, powerless. "My whole life I've been told to keep my chin up, smile, perform, be perfect, and somewhere along the way I confused perfection with superiority. I confused pressure with permission." Danny blinked, tears swelling. Cassandra continued, her voice shaking. "I hurt you because I was hurting. But that doesn't excuse it. It doesn't justify it. I made you feel small because I felt small, and I thought stepping on you would make me stand taller." She exhaled, trembling. "I am sorry. Truly. Not because the cameras are here, not because I got caught, but because I finally see what I became. And it scares me." Her gaze drifted to Mara, who wiped her cheek quietly. "I'm sorry to you too. I lost the only real friend I had because I didn't know how to be one." Cassandra's voice cracked completely. "I don't want to hide behind my father anymore. I don't want to be someone people fear or resent. I want to change. I just don't know how yet." Judy studied her with a measured stillness, compassion buried beneath accountability. "Acknowledging harm," she said softly, "is the beginning, not the end." Cassandra nodded. "I accept whatever you decide. I just hope, someday, I can become someone I'm not ashamed of." The gallery fell silent. Even the cameras seemed to soften, as if capturing not scandal, but evolution. Judge Judy lifted her gavel, posture steady, eyes unwavering. "Then it is time for judgment." Cassandra froze. Danny squeezed her hands together. Mara held her breath. The gavel hovered above the bench, a single inch of wood separating past from consequence. Then Judge Judy spoke the words that would change everything. "Before hearing the verdict, consider this. Can true change grow from remorse alone, or must consequence water the roots?" The gavel hovered in the air, suspended between consequence and possibility. Cassandra's breath trembled. Danny's hands clasped tightly in her lap. And Judge Judy, steady, resolute, brought the courtroom into stillness so complete it felt sacred. When the gavel finally struck, the sound wasn't explosive. It was measured, a controlled thunder meant not to punish, but to clarify. "Ms. Brell," Judge Judy began, her tone firm yet strangely gentle, "this court delivers judgment not merely on your actions, but on what you have learned from them." Cassandra lowered her gaze, tears glistening but unshed. She was no longer the girl who swaggered into the room believing the world bent around her. She sat smaller, but more real, like someone finally meeting her own reflection without flinching. Judy continued, reading from the bench. You are ordered to pay full restitution for all damages incurred by the cafe, including property loss, cleanup costs, and Ms. Rivera's lost wages. Cassandra nodded instantly, gratefully, as though each number was a weight she had been waiting to carry. Additionally, Judy continued, you will deliver a public written apology, addressed not just to Ms. Rivera, but to the staff who witnessed your behavior and to the public who your position represents. Cassandra's breath trembled. Yes, Your Honor. And finally, Judy said, leaning forward with deliberate precision, you will complete community service hours at a facility that serves the public without regard for status or influence. Your father's position will not be referenced. Your name will not be privileged. You will work as any other volunteer. A murmur rippled through the gallery. Approval, surprise, something almost like relief. Donnie exhaled softly, her shoulders easing as if a knot she'd carried for weeks had finally loosened. Cassandra's voice cracked. I understand, and I accept. Judy watched her closely, searching for even a flicker of defiance. There was none. Only humility, unfamiliar, but genuine. Ms. Brell, Judy said, her tone shifting into something quieter, heavier, more human. You stood in this courtroom believing power protected you. But true authority, true dignity, comes from accountability, not immunity. Cassandra nodded, tears finally spilling. I know that now. Danny stepped forward slightly. Thank you, Your Honor. Her voice was small but steady, carrying the strength of someone who had finally been seen, heard, and respected. Judy softened. Ms. Rivera, you showed grace under impossible pressure. That is its own form of courage. A faint, grateful smile touched Danny's face. The courtroom began to exhale as Judy lifted her gavel once more, not for punishment, but for closure. This case, she declared, is concluded. She struck the bench. The sound echoed, not as a sentence, but as a release. Cassandra stood slowly, turning toward Danny. They exchanged a small, fragile moment, one not of forgiveness but understanding. A beginning, not an absolution. As the cameras faded and the gallery rose to leave, the narrator's final reflection settled over the scene like a quiet truth. Arrogance may shout, but sooner or later, justice speaks louder. And today, it had spoken clearly.